boy, we back and we back better than ever before. Thank you for tuning in, everyone that's listening to the Kiko's Corner episode 3. And guess what? Guess what we did today? Guess what happened today? Real Madrid 1, Liverpool 0 at the Santiago Bernabeu. And Real Madrid, pretty much as a constant thing, we go through in the Champions League. And now we were the last team to qualify for the quarterfinals. And now we have the 8 teams that will be playing for the semifinal spot. That being Milan, AC Milan that is, Bayern Munich, or however you say it. Because there's a lot of ways and I get slandered on TikTok every time I say it. Benfica, Chelsea, Inter, Manchester City, Napoli, and of course, Real Madrid. In this video, in this podcast, if you're watching on Spotify, or if you're watching on YouTube, I will review each team's current form, current season so far, and their best player, their best stats. And then I'm going to say who I want Madrid to face, but I also want to do like a dream type scenario of the format, because there's going to be another draw, as we know. There's going to be a draw on Friday, I believe, that will dictate who we're going to face. And the craziest thing, teams from the same league can play against each other. So we could get a Manchester City-Chelsea rematch from the final. We could get a Bayern Munich-Manchester City, which might be the best game of the tournament, if we're honest. We might get a Milan-Inter. And then there's obviously just Real Madrid and Bayern when it comes down to their leagues, respectively, and Benfica. But let's jump into the first team right now, which is AC Milan. Currently sitting at 4th in their league, having a record of 14 wins, 6 draws, and 6 losses. Of course, Inter and Napoli above them, so it's a very tight race for second place, because Napoli is absolutely dominating when it comes down to Serie A after Juventus just fell from their issue that they had with the financial player. The top scorer right now in Serie A is Rafael Leao with 8 goals. Assists, Rafael Leao with 6 assists. And then the FOTMOB rating is Ismael Benacer with 7.45. Also, I just noticed the top goal scorer is tied. Olivier Giroud has 8 goals in Serie A as well. And when it comes down to the Champions League, Giroud has 4. And then Leao is not even on the top 3 scorers. Then that's crazy. Says Leao has 2, Sandro Tonali has 2, and Theo Hernandez has 2. And Giroud is the best in the GA. And FOTMOB rating has Theo Hernandez as the best player. When it comes down to AC Milan, I really, if I was to rank them, I would say they're realistically second to worst team out of all of them. I'm not gonna lie, because they really don't have the form in the league. They are out of the Super Cup or the Cup of Italy. If I'm correct, I'll check their stats so far. And then they're not even in competition for the league. So overall, I don't see why they will go through to the next round, to the semifinal, regardless of who they're gonna face. But we move to the next one, which is going to be Bayern Munich, who are currently top of the table by 2 points, 15 wins, 7 draws, and 2 losses, 71 goals scored, and only conceded 25. They are the best defense and the best offense in Bundesliga, but they're only winning by 2 points. The Bundesliga is crazy this year. It's crazy. And the craziest thing, I'm looking down, 3rd to 5th place, they're all tied with 45 points. That is insane. I just realized I wasn't showing you my screen, but this is what I'm looking for AC Milan. This is what I'm looking for Bayern Munich. When it comes down to the stats, we're looking at Jamal Musiala. This took me by surprise, by the way, because I wasn't aware that Musiala is leading them in so many categories. Musiala, 11 goals as the top scorer. Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting as the second one with 10 goals. Assists, Musiala again with 8 assists, and Müller with 7. And then the football rating, I'm not surprised, is Joshua Kimmich. But then Alfonso Davies is their technically second best player stat-wise. And then Musiala with 7.64. Then when it comes down to the Champions League, we're looking at Choupo-Moting with 4 goals and Leroy Sané, who is not, didn't even play that many games, if I'm correct. Did not did not start that many games, and it's their top goal scorer. If you're wondering why I'm laughing, it's because I just noticed Joao Cancelo, who just joined them, is already their top assister. This man could have been at Madrid. It is what it is. This man could have been at Madrid, but it is what it is. And then Goretzka, it's leading in the goal and assist in GA, and Joshua Kimmich is still their best player in both competitions. Joshua Kimmich is a fantastic player, by the way. He is insane. Overall, I've said it multiple times, and it doesn't matter that I'm a Madrid fan. I believe Bayern Munich is the team to win, is the team to beat. Like, they're gonna be the favorites. Of course, Real Madrid has its own caveat because we're just a different breed when it comes down to the Champions League. But they're my favorites. If I was to pick just based on like the style of play and everything, Bayern Munich is gonna be the favorites. If I have to rank them, they're gonna be number 2. Actually, no, number 1. What am I saying? Then it goes to Benfica. Top goal scorer Gonzalo Ramos with 15, but João Mario is tied for the Liga NOS. Alex Grimaldo with the most assists and João Mario with 6. Wow, João Mario is their best player by far. I know Grimaldo as a left back is obviously gonna have a high rating because of the assists, but like João Mario is everywhere. He's scoring and assisting. Let me take a look at the table. How are they doing right now? They're first place by 18 points. No, wait, am I dumb? By 8 points. Math was not the strongest. 21 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss. In the Champions League so far, which I want to check right here, where we at. In the Champions League so far, we're looking at João Mario with 6 goals. Gonzalo Ramos is not even in the leading for it. Assist is still Alex Grimaldo, and then the best player is still João Mario. Benfica could give the surprise if they get a good mashup. They could get the they could give the surprise. I'm not gonna lie, easily could give the surprise. Depending, I would say if they get Chelsea, they could give the surprise. Maybe Milan, Inter if they're not on their day, but that's about it. I feel everyone else will be able to cook them. So I'm gonna put them at mid-table, like 5, probably 5-4. Chelsea. These lot are just... This is my brother's team, so I low-key watch them and low-key have a lot of respect for them just because they beat us as well whenever they play us besides the last season. And overall, if I'm honest, if I was to look at the table, I will feel like, oh, they're just Liverpool 2.0 but worse because they're at 10th. Meanwhile, Liverpool is at 6 and we just put 6 past them. But if we go to last 5, I mean, Chelsea is picking up some pace. 2 wins in the Premier League. Meanwhile, if we go to fixtures, they beat Dortmund, they beat Leeds. Of course, they lost against Tottenham. This is before they woke up, but since they have been on form, they've been looking good. Potter maybe have found the lineup, maybe has found the way of playing with 3 at the back. Enzo Fernandez just looking fantastic. Kovacic is looking great. Joao Felix needs more time, but he's arguably the most dangerous player. Kai Havertz is doing good, and Modric finally got his assist. How did I do in the Champions League? I know they didn't do too well because Raheem Sterling being your top goal scorer, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who hasn't even played, I think, is your leading assister in the Champions League, and then Jorginho, who's not even a Chelsea player anymore, has the highest rating when it comes down to FUMUP in the Champions League. So overall, Chelsea has this thing, and a lot of Madrid fans might agree with me. Chelsea fans have this thing that when they suck the most, when you think They should not do absolutely anything. They go on and win the Champions League. It's the weirdest thing is the weird phenomena that I ever seen in a club. Because with Real Madrid it's just the fact that they're Real Madrid, right? Like even when they don't look that they're gonna win, you know they have it in them. Chelsea is like the complete opposite. They shouldn't win. They play like they shouldn't win, and they still win. like, like it doesn't make sense. I'm definitely, I don't want them in the next round. I do not want them in the next round. If I'm honest, I just do not. No, simple as that. I just don't want to see Chelsea in the next round. So for that alone, I'll put them at 4 in the rating so far, because Chelsea just has this thing, dude. Like it's weird. It's weird. Let's move to Inter, my team in Italy. If you didn't know, my team obviously is Real Madrid. Always has and will always be. But if there's competitions, because there's leagues all around the world, I'm going to watch and I'm going to have a preference. And my preference in Italy is the Inter de Milan. Lautaro Martinez lost me a lot of money over the weekend by spending or by missing that penalty, because of course he would, right? Lautaro Martinez, the top goal scorer with 14. Edin Dzeko with 7. And Nico Varela surprises me. I didn't know he had scored that many. He scored so far 5 in the league. Assisted 6 times. Hakan Calhanoglu has 5. And then Edin Dzeko with 3, which is really, really good. And then the best player so far has been Nico Varela with a 7.48 and Lautaro Martinez with a 7.4. Again, they're second place, but this kind of second place doesn't really matter, because it's a second place with an 18-point difference. So they should just focus on the Champions League at all times now. And then they still have the Coppa d'Italia, which is gonna be against Juventus in the next round. So they might have 2 competitions that they gotta focus for. When it comes down to the Champions League, their highest goal scorer is Edin Dzeko, who is so underrated, by the way. He's really, really good. Romelu Lukaku with 2. And then with the assists is Federico Di Marco, Alessandro Bastoni, Joaquin Correa with 2 each. And then the best player has been your goalkeeper. It has been Andre Onana, and then Calhanoglu, and then Alessandro Bastoni. If I'm honest, again, remember, I'm an Inter fan, right? I put them right there with Milan and Benfica. More on the side of Benfica that they could get the surprise depending if they get a good matchup. But they're not that good. I'm sorry, Inter fans, you might wanna insult me and everything. You might wanna slander me, but like they are not doing that good. If anything, they went out of the skin of their teeth against Porto last game. If you watch that game, you know the last 10 minutes was insane. And Porto could have easily gone through. So, yeah, they're in that level with Benfica and Milan. I feel out of the 3 Italian teams, Inter and Milan and AC Milan are just not gonna go through if they don't get a good matchup. So it's not gonna happen. Then moving from Inter to Manchester City. What else can we say about Manchester City, dude? They added Haaland, who is not, you know what I mean. Like, a lot of people will understand what I mean, and for the people that don't, I will explain it. Erling Haaland might be the best goal scorer ever. The worst player, but the best goal scorer, because the man, his passing is just average. He's tall, he's physical. He cannot really cross the ball. And when it comes down defensive awareness, he's everywhere, because that's just him being physically gifted, that he can just run forever like Valverde. But if there's one thing this kid can do, is be at the right place at the right time. And that technique alone will pay you the big bucks and will win you games. Because this kid doesn't need to pass the ball, doesn't need to assist. He just needs to be at the right place at the right time. In the last game, scoring 5 goals in a round of 16 is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like, honestly, that might be one of the worst 5 goals you've ever seen in history, but he scored them. And that's what matters here. He scored them. Top goal scorer, Erling Braut Haaland with 28, Phil Foden with 9, and Julian Alvarez with 5. No player has broken 10 goals for Manchester City in the Premier League yet. And Haaland is on the verge of breaking the all-time record. Let that sink in. Kevin De Bruyne, 12 assists, Bernardo Silva with 5, and Rodri with 5. Rodri having 5 assists is actually surprising. That's actually pretty crazy. And then the best player, based on ratings, is not Haaland. You would think scoring goals for fun, he will be the best player. But it's not. It's Rodri with a 7.9. Erling Braut Haaland is second with a 7.71. And Kevin De Bruyne with a 7.70 is third. Technically, he should be... they're going to change depending on the game. So let's just say the best player for Manchester City is Rodri, or the most important stat-wise. For the Champions League top goal scorer, again, it's not a surprise. Haaland is the top goal scorer. He had 5 before last game. Now he has 10. He wasn't even at the top 3 for the top goal scorer of the Champions League. Now he's obviously the front runner by a lead of 2 goals, I think, which is insane. Kevin De Bruyne with 3 assists, Mahrez and Julian Alvarez with 2. And then the best player in the Champions League, based on the stats, is Haaland, followed by De Bruyne, and then Nathan Ake, which is surprising if I'm honest, because Ake is not that... Is he even a starter? Like, has he even... Let me check that out. Let me see. Nathan Ake, how many games have he played this season? Career stats. For this season, he has played 21 games out of... who's like an absolute starter here? Haaland. I think Haaland has played most of the games. 26. So he's not that off in the Prem. He's an in and out starter. He's missed 6 games. But when it comes down to the league, this might come to bite Manchester City in the ass, because Arsenal, they're playing in the Europa League, and being in the Europa League and being one of the best teams in the Prem, you're not gonna face teams on your same level. But at the same time, Sporting does definitely have a chance of knocking them out. And that might play into Arsenal's favor, because if they want to say like, hey, we're going to qualify to the Champions League no matter what, because we're either going to win the Prem or we're going to finish in second, which wasn't the plan for Arsenal at the beginning of the season, they could take it easy in the Europa League and just focus their whole power to the Premier League if they get eliminated in the Europa League. Even though I'm pretty sure they would love to get that double if they can. But going back to Manchester City, that means that at all times they cannot relax. They gotta keep pushing, and they gotta keep keeping a perfect record, really. And they still in the FA Cup, as you can see here, against Burnley, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They have 10 games to go in the Prem, and that's not counting the games in the Champions League and the FA Cup. Manchester City is the second best team in the Champions League. I'm not even gonna lie. When it comes down to like who's gonna win it, it's Bayern, Manchester City, and Real Madrid. Those 3 are the ones. And Manchester City, bro. If this man right here, if this Baldy fraud, if the Baldy doesn't overthink, he might win his first Champions League with a team not named Barcelona and without a player named Messi. But if he overthinks, he's gonna get eliminated. I think they go 2. I honestly think they go 2. I think it's Bayern, Manchester City, and Real Madrid. Of course, Real Madrid with the caveat that you just know that anything can happen with Real Madrid. But just overall, for everything that we've seen so far, is Real Madrid. It's Manchester City at second. Then we go to arguably the so-called hottest team in Europe right now, because Napoli, 26 games, 22 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses, 60 goals scored, 16 goals allowed. They are the best defense and the best offense in the Serie A. They have 2 of the most exciting players and one of the best duo in Europe, in Victor Osimhen and Kivichka Cavradona, for the people that don't know how to pronounce his name, like your host. Victor Osimhen with 19 goals and Cavradona with 11, and assists Cavaradona with 9, Zielinski with 6, Mario Rui with 6. Their best player is Cavaradona. Don't get it twisted. 7.74 rating, Mario Rui with 7.72, and Victor Osimhen with 7.70. In the Champions League, top goal scorer is Giacomo Raspadori. That took me by surprise. I would have swore Victor Osimhen would have been clear and away of it, but they're all tied. It's Giacomo Raspadori, Giovanni Simeone, who is Diego Simeone's son, and then Victor Osimhen with 4, and then the assist, Cavaradona is obviously right there. And the best player, as for the stats-wise, is Zielinski with 8.24, Raspadori with a 8.03, and Simeone with a 7.85. Are they still in the Coppa d'Italia? Are they still in the Coppa d'Italia? That's really the only thing that could worry me about them. Yeah, no, they're not in the Cup anymore. Napoli is a team that I feel they get a team that knows how to play against them, that has been there before, that they are them. They're gonna crumble. Because this team, yes, they do have Kim, this defender right here. He's fantastic. They have a fantastic team, and again, they have two of the most informed players in the world, and they also have a Mexican king in Irving Lozano in the bench. But I honestly believe you put a Bayern, you put a City, you put a Real Madrid in front of them, the fairy tale is gonna be over. This dark horse mentality it's just gonna crumble because they're not gonna be able to keep up with it. I'm going to put them at, I think I put Chelsea at like 5-4. I'm going to move them to 5 and then put Napoli at 4 because they deserve the respect. They are better than Benfica. They are better than Milan. They are better than Inter. And I believe Napoli will beat Chelsea, depending if everything goes to plan and everything goes based on what we've seen. And then obviously last spot goes to Real Madrid, which is the number 3 in this imaginary bracket that I'm doing. Obviously, our top goal scorer is Benzema, even though he has missed a lot of games. Vinicius right there with 8, and Federico Valverde with 7, which is surprising. Assists, Rodrigo has 5, even though he doesn't play that much in La Liga. Honestly, like he's still being a bench player. Vinicius with 4, Benzema with 3. And then obviously our best player when he plays is Benzema with an 8.00 rating. Federico Valverde and Vinicius Jr. are following. And when it comes down to the Champions League, we're looking at Vinicius as our top goal scorer, assists Vinicius, and rating Vinicius. Vinicius is our most important player. He will be the most important player in La Liga if it wasn't because Benzema gets to play more games and he has been injured for the Champions League games. But when it comes down to who has been our most important player this season is Vinicius Jr. So if Vinicius is on point, if Vinicius is let's say protected by the referee and he doesn't have to like complain or anything, he will be our most important player. And if Benzema's there, if Federico Valverde's there, if Modric, Kroos, if everyone's on point, I don't see a team that can beat us. But then again, that's just me speaking from experience as a Madrid fan, as a Champions League watcher, that this team, this group of players, for some God knows what reason, when the Champions League anthem plays, they just immediately switch and they become different players. And at no point do I think that if there's a chance, if we're not like clearly eliminated, we still can win the game. So that's the main reason why we're number 3, because Bayern and City do have better play style and they depend more on controlling the game. So they depend more on themselves than the other players. Meanwhile, Real Madrid is just like, oh, you didn't score 3 past us, we're gonna score 3 right now. Like for some reason, that's how this team works. It's like, oh, there's 50 minutes left and we need 1 goal, let's score 2 just for the sake of it. Like I don't get this team. I don't get this team at all. But if we want to talk about my dream scenario, right? Like, Kiko, who do you want for Real Madrid in the next round now that everyone's qualified? This is gonna sound, because a lot of people say like, oh, to win against the best, you need to play the best, or to be called the best, you need to beat the best, right? I subscribe to that mentality because it's true. If you want to call yourself the best, you gotta beat every single one that might be a better player or might be better teams than you. But I'm sick of it. I'll be honest. I'm sick of this. That every time that Real Madrid wins the Champions League, we get the most hard path there is. When we did the first one, we beat the whole Bundesliga and then Atletico Madrid in the final, right? Because we beat Schalke, Borussia Dortmund, Bayern, and then Atletico Madrid. When we did the one last season, we're talking about we beat PSG, then Chelsea, then Manchester City, then Liverpool. What is that? What is that? And then in the other two, we beat Juventus in one before the final, and then we had to do the one comeback against Wolfsburg. We had to beat Atletico before a final, and then Bayern Munich twice in two different ones. So overall, dude, like let us have a clear path. Give us a gimme. Like most of the time, people say like, "Oh, Real Madrid gets such an easy group." We make up for it on the round of 16, the quarterfinal, semifinal, and the final. We usually get teams that like everyone else couldn't beat, and then we happen to beat them. So throw us a bone. Please, like me as me asking for this. Throw us Benfica, throw us Milan, throw us Inter. Inter, we have beat them in I don't know how many Champions League in a row. Milan will be a cool thing, even though Ancelotti says that they won them in the final, even though that's just because he trained them and he won the Champions League with them. But give me Milan, give me Inter, give me Benfica, just for the sake of it, please. Because I want Manchester City and Bayern to play. That would be one of the best, if not the best, possible game of the season. 2 games, because I want it to be in City, in Manchester, and I want it to be in the Allianz. Give me a Chelsea-Napoli, the revenge from that one game when Di Matteo took over and Chelsea came back from like a 5-2, something crazy like that. The El Clásico de Milano, I forget what the proper name for it, but give me an Inter Milan. That'll be cool. What other fixtures could we get here? Chelsea Benfica to make up for the Europa League final that happened. The Benfica was winning and Chelsea won in in like 5 minutes. Bayern versus Real Madrid sounds like a really good matchup, but it will be a waste in a quarterfinal. That type of game has to happen in a semifinal or a final. Like Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid is El Clásico from Europe. That's the European classic. That's the European game. Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid. So I would definitely take that as a final matchup. I will take that game any day of the week. Wow, Real Madrid Bayern Munich final, that will be insane. Manchester City versus Inter. Manchester City versus Napoli will be interesting. Looking at everything else, Chelsea, Manchester City, the repeat from the final, and Manchester City could get their revenge. And that's about it. But if you ask me, all those are like my dream scenarios. And of course, this is just luck of the draw. It's not like you can predict because it's just people spinning balls and then like saying the names and this is who's gonna face who. But if I was to pick, I want Milan first, Benfica second, Inter third. Give me Milan first because Milan, again, they're not in their best right now. Then Benfica, just because Benfica is good, but their quality is not the greatest, but they are better than Inter. You know what I'm saying? Like Inter, even though they're doing good in the Serie A by being second place, they're not doing at their best. But the matchup, stylistically, I think we will do better against Benfica than Inter, but we already know how to beat Inter. So regardless, one of these 3, we take one of these 3, I'm happy. I'm not sweating. If we get Bayern Munich, I'm sweating for the full 2 weeks before that game. If we get Manchester City, I'm sweating for the full 2 weeks. Napoli, I'm 50-50 because again, I don't think they have played a team that have put them on the back foot. So that will be interesting. And then Chelsea, I'm sweating. I don't care if Chelsea's 10th. I don't care if Chelsea's fighting relegation. I don't care anything. 2 things matter for me with Chelsea. Chelsea, it's my brother's team, so I cannot afford losing against Chelsea because that just means a full year of just trolling from my brother. Even though I celebrated when they won against Manchester City because I'd rather Chelsea winning something over Manchester City winning because of my brother. And two, Chelsea, stylistically, regardless how bad they play or anything, I feel they could do some damage to the Real Madrid style. Having that Ancelotti is a very management rather than like tactics. He trusts the team out, and if Porter, even though Tuchel had our number, but I don't know about Porter. Maybe Porter doesn't do it. I'm thinking more about the stylistic or the aura of Chelsea, but that's about it. That's really it. Give me Benfica, give me Milan, give me Inter. Everyone else, I'm gonna be shedding bricks. But on that note, I hope that you appreciated the podcast. This was definitely the longest one I've done so far. So if you liked it, please follow the Spotify and the Apple Music. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Link in bio for all my other social media. I'm Kiko Suarez on Twitter. I'm Kiko Suarez on TikTok. And I'm Kiko Suarez on Instagram. And make sure to use my links for the betting if you want to bet responsibly through Bovada, Prize Picks, or Fliff. And then if you want to start investing, use the Weibo, Robinhood, or Stash link in my bio. But besides that, as always, enjoy the game. It's just a sport. Love it or hate it. It's really just 11 men or 22 men kicking a little ball that goes into a big net. It ruins my day. It makes my day. But at the end of the day, be respectful. Enjoy the game. And I'll see you until next time. Peace.